Hi, this is Jennifer Vatsa, Belladonna's Botanicals, and this is another episode of Jennifer's Insights. And what I wanted to talk about, because I've seen this topic coming up a lot lately, is the divine feminine versus the divine masculine. And first of all, I don't think verses should actually be in there because the divine feminine and masculine, think of it as like an infinity symbol. They're differences, but they're all kind of same part of the same energy source. So looking at it in non-dualistic terms is it's very much falling into that the duality of male or female, but it's a lot of people that don't identify fully as either. And I am just as much in touch with the divine or infernal feminine as I am with, the masculine. I'm not. The point I want to make in that saying that is that we cannot know, even just by judging what I look like versus the things you may know about me from my channel versus the life I've lived, how I was raised, how my internal processing works. So, it's not up to anyone else to decide for you or anyone what the definition of divine femininity or divine masculinity is. That's up to you to decide for yourself and to embrace the parts of it that work for you. Like, I know there's parts of my character, my personality that are more masculine, and there's ones that are more feminine, but I'm okay, and I always have been okay with that. Like, sometimes I'll joke like I don't girl well because there's parts of, and some of that might be my neurodivergence as well, there's parts of it where I'm like, this was years ago, but I was just completely baffled by when I would, like, at a social gathering, and when I would see my lady friends, and it's like everyone had to greet each other with a compliment. And I'm like, well, that's nice that you think my shoes are nice. I didn't make them myself or anything, so like, I'm like, oh, you greet people with compliments. This is a how to be human file you're missing in the system, because I just don't. That's not how. Yeah, that was just a scene missing. Like the files got corrupted somewhere and whatnot. But I've had a lot of very close, like, platonic male friends over the course of my life since I was probably about 14. So I'm perfectly fun, being the only chick and doing dude stuff and whatnot. Um, I would rather be at a strip club than a baby shower to this day. So, and I'm in touch with all the divine feminine, the divine masculine, and exploring it. And to say that someone can only be one or the other also is kind of like, tell me you're transphobic without telling me you're transphobic. Because some people can, we have an entire gender spectrum now, and it's taken me a long time to get used to it. I'm 47. There's a whole, like, I still don't know the differences between all the things, but you know what, I just accepted that as that person's reality, and that's who they are, and cool. You can be divine, masculine and divine feminine, or neither one of them, and invent your own kind of divine humanity or whatever. But, like, I would prefer to err on the side of not telling people they can only be this or only be that. And that we really need to look beyond the binary of divine masculine, divine feminine, and look at it as a spectrum, like everything, like the gender spectrum, like the autism spectrum. There's no hard, this is obviously male and this is obviously female. You can't prove to me that it's wrong. I don't know. It's just like, and I do think that getting in touch with those elements are crucial. Like, I think people should explore, like, I think, most people who identify as men should explorify. I like that. Explorify their divine masculinity. So long as they're not following people who are espousing, the way to be a real man is by treating women like shit and abusing them and being a misogynist. That's not divine masculine. That's ew, cringe. That's just toxic. So when we hear a lot of terms around like toxic masculinity and toxic femininity, and believe me, I've seen plenty of both. People can be toxic. Are they toxic because they're a man or because they're a woman, or are they just toxic because they be toxic? Chances are they're toxic because they be toxic, but there are things that are ingrained into our society and culture from either one, from that are toxic behaviors. And I've seen and experienced it. Like, I mean, honestly, some of the worst, most misogynistic places and places I've worked and bosses I've had when I worked in an office were women run institutions and were female dominated offices, because women also struggle with their own internalized misogyny. That's a whole other thing too there. And not to get too off course with this, but I just really want to have that message out there, and really kind of don't let anyone define this stuff for you. Define it for yourself. And if you see someone that's speaking in very absolutes, very dogmatically, very divisively, I would steer clear of that, because that is what I am learning, is to not ignore the big, gigantic ass red flags anymore, because that's part of my journey, because that's something I have done a lot in my life. And you know who gets that by ignoring the red flags? So have conversations about these things with your, in your groups, with, if you, as just part of the larger occult community. Because again, in my little corner of the occult community, as it were, all are welcome. My motto on life in general is live and let live, and don't be a dick. Don't cause harm to people because of something you don't understand. Because when you read something like, well, you can only embrace one or the other, divine masculine or divine feminine, think about how the impact of those words, especially if you are a leader, upon anyone who identifies as non-binary, transgender, gender non-conforming, gender queer, and on down the line through the spectrum. Or people who have family members, children who are transgender. So while you might not get it, while it might not be part of your lived experience, just remember the world's comprised of all different types of people, and they're not all fucking you and believe exactly what you believe. I don't know, like I feel like, well, I mean, I look at the state of the world. I try not to look at the state of the world, but I mean, I've been fighting these fights for decades, so it's nothing new to me. And what's sad, really, and it touches, and I probably mentioned this before, I forget where in what video, but the thing that makes me really sad right now is looking around, especially in the black magic, a left-hand path corner of the occult world, and I am seeing the exact same behaviors and types of people that made me leave the Catholic Church when I was 15 years old, which was 32 years ago. So over half my life ago, double half my life. I don't know. There's math involved. Anyways, I've seen a lot of that dogmatic behavior, a lot of that preaching intolerance, preaching um, you know, the misogyny, um, and push and trying to silence women into leaving or into submission or whatever. That's like why I left the Roman Catholic Church. Y'all need to like, you're truly in truly looking at spirituality and enlightenment. That is not part of it, not even a little. Um, but something I face every day, and or I witness every day. And the thing is, I look at it and I sit there and I think, what is it like to be in that person's shoes reading this or watching this video? And because sometimes I've been that person, it's not far too no, not hard to relate. I just think that when we're talking about big subjects, especially ones that can be hurtful, unintentionally hurtful, to really think about what we say and how we say it, and to lead by example, and also understand that like attracts like. And if half your following is just a bunch of like haters and trolls and like people simping on every word that you say, and every word you say is just like toxic nonsense, that's not my corner of the occult. I'm sorry, I'm making my own over here. Y'all are welcome to join. We got lots of Diet Dr. Pepper, not sponsored by Diet Dr. Pepper, but Diet Dr. Pepper wants to sponsor me. I'm pretty sure most of my blood constitution is Diet Dr. Pepper based. Anyways, yeah, I want to make the occult, my corner of the occult world, better. And that has been for me, unfortunately, like disconnecting from some people, some colleagues, some friends, some business collaborations and whatnot, because I guess I'll end on a personal story of why sometimes I get a little, why for a cisgender woman, why gender issues are something I fight for. So, number one, for whatever reason, my mom raised me kind of like gender neutral. So I was misgendered until I grew boobs, which luckily was by the age of 9. So I particularly don't like being misgendered. So that's not something I'm going to do. But when I had the choice to be my own person, I went pretty hard femme on that. Like I've always kind of presentation wise been a girly girl, mostly. And but again, like I said, personality wise, yeah, I'll be stomping around in the mud puddles and doing whatever I did as a child. It was a long ass time ago. So that's part of it for me. But I made that choice to also, I was very tall, so I grew out of children's clothing by the time I was like 9. So, and it was like, and that was like 1984. So I had like peak 80s fashion. Anyways, that aside. And the other one that this particularly bothers me sometimes when people get wrapped up in the divine feminine and also fuck turfs, is that I had a hysterectomy when I was 39. And I've been told by some turfy fuckers that, well, it's that meme, the no uterus, no opinion. Like I'm not allowed to have, I'm less of a woman because I don't have a uterus. I've been made to feel that way. And you know what? Being made to feel that way, even though you're a cisgender woman, that fucking sucks. because I would fight for anyone's right to reproductive health. And I'm not getting political about this, but to say that I have no voice in it, to say that it no longer concerns you, I'm like, yeah, I still have to go for annual exams. I cut my ovaries. At least do I get some street cred for my ovaries, yo? But it's when you divide things into such manners of, well, this is the definition of this, and we cannot look anywhere beyond the definition of this. I say, because having a hysterectomy hasn't made me any less of a woman. I never was going to have kids anyway, so no big loss. And I'm saving a fuck ton of money on not having to buy tampons and pads. So, but to be made to feel that way, especially by someone who was actually a friend of mine at the time, like I think about that. So when I think about people saying like, well, you can only be divine masculine or divine feminine and stuff, I think about that person or how I identified and how I felt when that person made me feel less than because I'm missing some internal organs. Not everyone's lived experience is the same. And I will always side on understanding and being inclusiveness. I don't understand everything there is to know about gender and sexuality, put it in that, since we're talking about the divine feminine and divine masculine. Like, I don't know what it's like to be a transgender person, but I know enough trans people that, I can at least, have a rubric of understanding and acceptance and know the struggle and know what they go through. And especially watching parents, people that are my peers who have trans children who are terrified for their children's lives on a daily basis. Don't make it worse for these people. Come on. Anyways, I will get off my soapbox because, anyways, I've just been thinking about this, and don't let anyone define you for you. I know that we get a lot of spiritual seekers in the occult world and energy work world and all of that. And like any community, there's a lot of toxic people with a lot of viewers, subscribers, and whatnot, followers. The number of followers does not always, it's quality versus quantity. So someone with 3,000 subscribers might actually be the better person for you to follow than someone with, say, 100,000 subscribers or 10,000 subscribers. Yeah. So lead by example. That was Azazel's message, which came up in another video that I did. And I'm taking Azazel's words to heart on that. Be the change you want to see in the world and create, the community I want to create. And I'm done skimming the periphery of communities that are toxic and ew. Anywho. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. And I will be back at a whim's notice, because that's how I film videos, is by whim. Occasionally I'll plan something. I'll be like, okay, today's video day. Or I'll just suddenly be like, I must make all the videos. Anyways, have a good one, and I love you all.